Here we have a reading comprehension main idea question, and I just want to go over a basic idea of how to tackle this question type. So as always, I had to redact portions of it. If you want to see the full passage and read through it and look at the unredacted bits, go ahead and click the link to GMATClub in the description link for the full question. Come back when you're ready. All right, so the first thing is, how do I know this is a main idea question? Well, it says the passage is primarily concerned with, right? It's asking for what the primary concern is. It's asking about the entire passage, not just a certain paragraph or a certain sentence. So with main idea questions, one of the things to consider is that there's three kinds of passages. So there's passages that are purely informational. There are passages that are informational and they have a little bit of opinion. And then there are passages that are purely persuasive. So what you need to do when you read a passage is determine which of the three types it is. So an informational passage will have no opinion whatsoever. A persuasive passage will have lots and lots of opinion, probably 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 sentences of opinion, maybe more than that. And then what's tough is this sort of middle of the road passage, which I call I+. It's informational, plus there's like a tiny little bit of opinion. And usually I would say for persuasive passages, you're looking at like 3 or more strong sentences of opinion. With information plus, you might only have 1 or 2, or if it does have 3, it'll be very mild opinion. The language will not be very strong or very passionate. So this passage, has to do with current feminist theory. So this passage is sort of interesting because I would classify this passage as an I+ passage. There is some opinion, but it's not exceptionally strong. The author sort of takes a middle of the road approach. And one of the parts of the passage that's always really, really helpful to pay attention to with main idea passages is the very first sentence of the passage, because that's going to tell you what the topic is of the passage and what the scope of the passage is. So the topic is just usually like 1 or 2 words. It's basically like, all right, what is it about? Is it about whales? Is it about candles? Is it about Albert Einstein? What's our general topic? So let's just read the very first sentence of this passage. Again, feel free to pull it up and read out loud or not out loud, but just read along with me. I'll read out loud. Here we go. Current feminist theory, invalidating women's own stories of their experience, has encouraged scholars of women's history to view the use of women's oral narratives as the methodology next to the use of women's written autobiography that brings historians closest to the reality of women's lives. Very, very long sentence. So the mistake people might make is they're sort of trying to summarize all of that, disentangle all of that. Just start from the subject of the sentence. Use your sentence correction skills. The subject of the sentence here is current feminist theory, right? So first of all, the passage is primarily concerned with current feminist theory. I might just write CFT, right? So it's about a theory, some sort of theory. And obviously it's a theory that has to do with women. So that would be our topic, right? Some sort of theory. And then the scope about it is it says that the current feminist theory, and then if we go to the predicate verb, has encouraged. Current feminist theory has encouraged. And then the object of that verb, scholars. Great. So this theory, and it's about how it has encouraged scholars to think a certain way. And it can be as simple as that, just strip the sentence back. Again, long reading comp sentences are always, sorry, I know it got a little cut off over here, but longer sentences are always made more clear if you can strip it back, just like we do in sentence correction, to the subject, the predicate verb, and the object. So, great. So we know it's a I+ passage. We know the topic is some sort of theory. The scope of the passage is about how it encouraged scholars. Because this passage is 2 paragraphs, one of the things that's very interesting about the structure of it is that the first paragraph has a little bit of positive opinion, right? This current feminist theory validated something. They use the word validating, which is a positive word, and has encouraged, right? Encouraged is a positive word. So you might think, oh, this passage, maybe it's going to be persuasive, or it's all going to be about how positive this theory is, how much this theory is so awesome. But then it takes a turn in the topic sentence of the second paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. Scholars of women's history should, however, be as cautious about accepting oral narratives at face value as they already are about written memories. Okay, so now we've got this word, this contrasting keyword, however, and they use the word cautious. So it's not just fully positive about this theory. There's a little bit of positive and a little bit of negative. So because of the structure where the first paragraph offers a little bit more of the positive side, the second paragraph offers a little bit more of the negative side, we want the main idea to represent both sides. So we're looking for something positive and negative about a theory and its impact on scholars. So that can be our prediction, and now we're ready to look at some answer choices. So A says, contrasting the benefits of one methodology with another. So this is tempting because contrasting really works with our plus minus, but it's not really about comparing a certain methodology with another methodology. It's just about the impact it has on the scholar. So we're kind of missing the idea of, well, we're sort of missing the idea of people, right? It's not about the methodology, it's about this, it's not about saying this one methodology is better than this other methodology. It's about examining one methodology, one theory, and about the impact it has. So I think this could be quite tempting because contrasting is really good. We can absolutely keep it for now, but it's not likely to be the correct answer. B says, describing the origins and drawbacks of a particular methodology. Again, this is very tempting because the back half is excellent. Drawbacks of a particular methodology, yes, that fits paragraph 2 really, really, really well. But they're very sneaky with this word origins, right? Origins is like how something came about. What's the backstory? Where did it originate from? It's almost like a history lesson. That is not what the first paragraph is about. And this and tells us that the first portion should describe the first paragraph and the second portion, the second paragraph. So origins is wrong. It's interesting how one word can ruin an answer choice. So A and B both have something good about them, but there's enough in it that makes them the wrong answer. C, discussing the appeal of a methodology and some concerns about its use. Yes, right? Methodology, theory, that fits well. The appeal, that's like the positive aspect of it. Concerns, that's the negative aspect of it. That fits really well what we're looking for. D, showing that some historians' adoption of a methodology has led to criticism of recent scholarship. Okay, so in criticism, again, we get the second half, we get the negative, but we're missing some of that positivity in the first paragraph. It's a little bit like B, where it's only focusing on the negative, and we want something that does both. E, analyzing the influence of feminist views on women's interpretations of their experience. That's really off the mark. That's probably the worst answer choice in this group of 5. Has nothing to do with this theory and the fact, and the impact it has on scholars. It's interesting because they don't even really get into whether the scholars are women or men, even though it's about feminist theory. They don't ever say that the scholars are only women. So the fact that they're focusing here on only women's interpretations is not quite right. So the best choice here is C. This is an excellent, excellent question. I think the more you can focus on how every single word is important. For example, many students would choose B here because this second part, drawbacks, is so good, but you've got to really focus on every word. If origins doesn't really fit, don't choose B. So C is our answer. If you have any questions about this or other main idea questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below.